Hello everyone, this is Death Navy, and I'm here with another video. And this time, as the title says, I'm going to be reviewing all the banners for this coming year for the NA server. Just a quick note before I start. This is my opinion on what I believe you should be rolling for and what you shouldn't be rolling for. If you have a personal preference on any of these servants, feel free to ignore my words, because there's some servants that I'm going to describe that I personally would roll for, even though I recommend not rolling for them. Anyway, I'm going to get started with the current banners and then move on to the future banners. So the current banners, we have the manga banner, and we have the New Year's banner part 2. So the manga banner has Altria and Vinci. Personally, Altria is not really it, in my opinion. I have her on both my NA and JP accounts, and I don't really use her at all. And also, she's permanent, so she'll tend to spook you like she did me on both accounts. So if you want her, by all means, but I recommend staying away from her. As far as Vinci goes, Vinci is an extremely good AoE caster. A lot of people think she's underrated. I think she's underrated. She is an arts AoE servant that main ability is to just loop. She doesn't even really need a support. Her first skill lets her... her first skill gives her damage, but her second skill regens her NP every turn, and then her third skill is a huge battery. So with those skills and some support, or even no support, she can continuously loop with her arts cards because she is a triple art deck, and she can out damage other casters simply by just firing off her NP consistently without support. She's very self-sufficient. I highly recommend you roll for her, unless you're going for another AoE caster that's coming Valentines, which, you'll see what I think at that time. The second banner we have is the New Year's Part 2 banner, which includes Li Shuen Assassin. He is not limited. He is story locked, but he is not limited. So I don't think you should be rolling for him unless you really like his animations and his style, which I do. I have been rolling, and I didn't get him. But he's an arts single-target assassin, which is kind of weird because as of the moment, we don't really have any strong art support other than Tamamo and Caster Gil. And he's just... there's nothing... Since he's art-based, there's nothing... he can't get a whole lot of stars, and he's a crit servant, but it's hard for him to get his stars back, at least from what I've seen and used him with. He's just... There are better assassins, I believe, and he is not limited. So, yeah, I would recommend skipping this. Alright, now on to the future banners. So, of course, we had Beniyama's banner. I'm not really going to go over that because that's already in the past. She will come back around next year for the rerun. So if you did miss her, you can always snag her there. I failed to pick her up there, so, well, here's what it is. This Babylonia banner, I believe, let me double check. It has... Caster Gil and Elkidu. I don't believe that they'll be coming to NA simply because we've already had a Babylonia campaign. But that's there. And in case it does somehow come out, Elkidu is a very, very strong single target lancer. One of the best in the game after his NP buff, which I believe is already in NA, maybe? I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really used him. And then Caster Gil is an extremely good support. Both are permanent, though, so unless you really, really need a single-target Lancer, I would recommend just skipping out because they'll eventually spook you like they did me multiple times. Heaven's Feel banner, I believe, has Saber, Altria, as well as Herc and Emiya and Medusa, but that's a skip in my opinion because they're all permanent units. And unless you have some nostalgia for Saber, I wouldn't. She does get a really nice buff in the future, but that's a little ways away, a couple of years. Next banner is the Winterfest. This is not coming. I can guarantee you that. It has Ivan the Terrible. He came last year on Thanksgiving. I think that was to make up for the lack of this banner. So if you didn't get him there, well, he's not going to be back for a while. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. Next, we have the Prisma Illya banner. And I'm just going to go over here for a little bit of visual. So we have Illya, Mabe, Miu, and then the other three, Nursery Rhyme, Media Lily, and oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, Helena. The bottom three are just okay. Media Lily is story locked, so now is a good time to get her if you want her. She's the best healer in the game. However, that's really all she can do. She has no defense, no attack, no nothing. She's really just all heals, nothing else. So unless you have other supports in your party that can cover the other buffs, she's really not worth it. Helena is kind of like a mini waiver from what I've heard. I haven't really used her, so I can't definitively say whether she's worth rolling, although she is permanent, so you'll probably end up getting spooked by her sometime or later. Nursery Rhyme, not that great from what I've heard. She's also permanent. And then on to the big three. We got Illya, Miu, and Mabe. Miu is more of a trophy unit than anything. She's kind of like a mini Merlin in a way, but the way she supports her allies requires her to stay alive, and the fact that she takes damage after she uses her NP makes it hard to sustain herself. And when she dies, everyone loses the buffs that she gives, which are extra stars, health, and NP gain. And you have to really put your party around making her work. She's just, when you can literally just bring a support Merlin in and he'll get the job done much better. She's really not worth rolling unless you want her as a trophy or you really like using her. Illya, I believe, is also a skip. She's limited. She won't be coming around till New Year's of next year is her next raid up, at least from what I know. She's pretty good. She's a single target buster caster. But here's the thing. We just got Shuten Dojin caster. And if you haven't picked her up, she will have a rerun this Halloween. And she's just, if you have her at NP5, she's just much better than an NP1 Illya. You would really have to get the NP levels up to make Illya worth it over Shuten Doji. And I have used her a few times, but for me, I just personally prefer using Shuten Doji because she just hits like an absolute truck. And she's free. Everyone will get her as long as you've completed the event. And then Mabe is not really worth it. She's a story-locked unit. She's really weird in where she has an anti-male niche, but there's not a whole lot of male casters that you'll be fighting or male berserkers. And so there's that. And then she also can support male allies with a double charisma. And I've used that a few times with her and Ivan on JP, but she's not worth rolling for. If you get spooked from her off story or off a class banner, then of course use her by all means. But if you're going to spend your Saint Quartz, I feel like it should be spent elsewhere. That's my personal opinion. Next, we have the Valentines banner, which comes out. And let me just double check that is the next event. Yeah, that is the next event. Murasaki. So I mentioned her when I was talking about Da Vinci. I feel like Da Vinci is better than Murasaki. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal take. I have Murasaki on JP. I managed to get her off the download campaign, which was a few months ago. She is very good at challenging quests. She has a abilities that make it so enemies can't buff, and she also has defense up, defense down on enemies. Really useful stuff for challenging content, but I feel like if you're going to go into a challenging content, there are better people to bring other than Murasaki, because she kind of requires a high IQ, and me personally, I don't mess with that, and I feel like most players won't mess with that either. If you're looking for a damaging servant, Da Vinci is just better, in my opinion. So if you have quartz and you're saving it for Murasaki, unless you really want her for some reason, she's your favorite servant, I just would recommend throwing your quartz on Da Vinci and not on Murasaki. You also have all these female servants, story locked and non-story locked. I'm not going to go over all of them, but if there's a specific one you want, now's the time to get it. Lancer Altria is very good. I have her, I also have Quetzalcoatl. She's also very good. She'll be on right up there. So yeah, if there's a specific female servant that you want that's permanent or story locked, that's a good time to do it. Next, we'll have the Valentine's Day Part 2, which brings back Semiramis. I don't think Semiramis is worth it. She is a strong AoE assassin that can buff your allies with defense, and she relies on poison to do extra damage. And she has a battery and good NP gain. It's just, I feel like her damage relies on her poison, so once her poison goes away, she's not really going to be dealing too much damage. And I feel like servants like Cleopatra, who's also permanent or limited, who I own, I feel like they're much better because their NP gen is higher, and they have stars. They can spam their NP more, and they're just better overall. But if you don't have an AoE assassin and you really want her, by all means, I personally think she's worth skipping. Next, we have an interlude or strengthening quest. I don't think there's a banner on this. I could very well be wrong. So there's that. Then there's the Seraph rerun, CCC rerun, which introduces King Protea as well as brings back previous CCC units. Melt is an extremely good unit. I have her on my NA account, and she's very, very powerful single target. Although if you have a strong single target rider, caster, and assassin, you don't really need her, in my opinion, but she's very strong just overall. So you can use her in a lot of different content. She's a quick single target, like I've said before, and she removes buffs after her NP, which is very good. She also has an evade. She gives herself stars, attack buffs. She's overall very good. So if you want to roll her, by all means. Passion Lip is another 4-star alter ego. From what I've seen and used her for, she's mainly just defense, outliving the enemy. And I don't know. I've used her a few times, and I can't really comment on her because I haven't used her enough. But I think she's decent from what I've used her for. Although I think if you have other alternatives for AoE, they're probably better than her. She's mainly just defense. Suzuka Gozen is a strong AoE saber. She is worth pulling. The only thing is she's permanent, so she'll end up spooking you. So if you don't already have her, I probably wouldn't pull specifically for her, simply because she might spook you in the future. Arjuna Alter, I have NP5. I think he's worth it. His NP ignores defense buffs, and it's also the strongest NP of all archers in the entire game. But since he has a strong NP, his face cards are not all that powerful. I have him at NP5, so he hits stupidly hard. He can also remove a charge on his NP. He has defense buffs as well as attack buffs and a projection. The only thing is he doesn't have an evade or an invincible. It's just defense buffs. So he can die easily if not supported. King Protea, I've used her a couple times. She's a lot like Passion, where she's mainly just outliving the enemy defense. The only thing is, instead of defense, it's more health buffs. I'm not exactly 100% sure on her kit. If you'd like to look that up, by all means, you can look it up on the wiki. But she increases her health over some turns, and she's mainly just a really tanky AoE alter ego. So I know most of you, if you're going to pull for her, it's going to be because she's Gao. From a gameplay, it's really up to you. If you need an alter ego, I would probably try to pull for Melt. And if you can't get Melt, I would pull for King Protea. Tristan and Gawain are just kind of honestly. They're both story locked, so if you don't have them and you really want them, by all means, but they're not all that. Gawain is very standard AoE Saber, and then Tristan is a defensive archer, kind of like a David, except 4-star. Next, we have the Chaldea Boys banner. Let me just double check that is, in fact, the nick. Yes, it is. So we have Chaldea Boys. So brings back Moriarty. Personally, I think Moriarty is a skip. He's kind of niche. He's a single target buster archer in a land where single target buster archers are non-existent in this game as far as 5 stars go. But really, he's not all that. He has some buffs that allow you to make your teammates evil, and then he can use his charisma to double charisma them because he can turn his allies evil, and then his NP gives defense down. But I just feel like there's better options out there. There's an archer that'll come out at the end of the year who's just far, far, far superior to Moriarty in terms of damage. And I would just save your courts if you're looking for a single target archer. And then you have all the permanent male units. Notably, Nikola Tesla is really good. He's kind of, I would say he's on the level of Gilgamesh. I wouldn't say he's better or necessarily worse. He just has more utility. He has a battery, stars, strong NP gain. He's very good overall. You have Lee who returns. If you want to roll Lee, if you didn't get him in the current banner, you can get him there. Ku Alter is very strong. Just some good units overall. So if you're looking to pick up a specific permanent unit, you can do so there. The next one, oh boy, here we go. Here's the big boy. So we're going to have an interlude campaign. I'm not 100% sure if that'll bring along a banner. I think it does. But I'm not 100% sure on that. And then, yeah, we have this banner, which I'm sure you all know about. It brings along Kama. And Kama is a stupidly strong single target assassin that can generate lots of stars. She can buff herself up a lot, and her NP is super strong and will charm enemies unless they have a resistance to charm or debuffs. It's very good for challenging she's very good for challenging content, especially enemies that can't resist charm, because she can just charm lock them. And then for general enemies, she usually just kills them before they even attack. So she's well worth picking up if you don't, even if you do have someone like Jack. I would still recommend pulling for her. She's extremely strong. There's some good videos out there using her if you want to look more into her, but just know she's probably the best assassin in the game, even to this date in JP. I see her used all the time. The only thing that Jack has over her is the fact that Jack does extra damage to females. But I mean, that's really small in the big range of things. And then this banner is completely forgotten about, I feel like. Kiara is a very, very good alter ego. As of current, she's just okay, I believe. I think she's on par with King Protea, but King Protea more is buster and defense than Kiara. Kiara is more looping. But next year, when the rerun comes around, she'll get a buff that improves her NP damage and her skills. And oh my god, she becomes absolutely amazing. So even if you're not planning on picking her up this year, I recommend attempting to pick her up next year, because she's very, very good and well underrated. Next banner is the download campaign banner for... it has MHX. MHXA is single target quick berserker. I feel like there are better berserkers out there, though. Like, if you need a single target berserker, I recommend, where is it? Just pulling on Alter on the Chaldea Boys banner. He's much better, in my opinion. He survives easier. He does more damage. The only thing she's got over him is the fact that she's quick, so she works well with Scotty. If you do have Scotty, she might be worth picking up. If you don't, like myself, I have her and I don't have Scotty, and she hardly gets any use. I barely use her. If you're fighting sabers, she does extra damage against sabers, but like I don't think she's worth it if you don't have Scotty. And even if you do have Scotty, there are better alternatives, I believe. But hey, if you like her, by all means, go ahead. Next banner, we got the rerun of Gudaguda 3. Yes, I almost said, 3. Okitan Hijikata. Speaking of berserkers, personal opinion, I think Hijikata is better than MHXA because he does more damage, and if he gets attacked and he gets to low HP, his NP and his crits do more damage if his third skill is active, and he can put in some mad damage. I feel like he's much better than MHXA, but that's just my personal opinion. There are many others that would disagree with that. Okitan is a definite skip, in my opinion. Unless you really like Arjuna Alter, she's just not all that. If you're gonna go for an AoE buster alter ego, just go for King Protea. She's just better, in my opinion. Next we have case files. So this will bring Waiver and Reines. So if you don't have Waiver, I recommend trying to get him. I'm sure you all know about him. 50% battery to whoever he wants, and then the entire party gets 30% battery. Attack buffs, defense buffs, crit buffs. He's got quite the kit. His NP lowers defense, stun, decreases charge. He's just very, very good support all around. Well worth picking up if you don't have him. Reines is extremely similar to Waiver, and I have her on JP, and I pretty much use her as a Waiver. When she gets her buff next year, her Interlude buff, she will get another NP battery that she can put on an ally, so she gets even better. But I haven't really used her that much in JP. She's good for challenging content because you can use defense buffs and you can debuff enemies. I'm not sure exactly her entire kit, but just because I haven't really used her. Even though I do own her, I feel like Waiver is a much better option. Also, Waiver won't steal all your stars like she tends to do. And then we have Estrella, which will come as well. She's a very strong single target ruler. If you don't already own a single target ruler like Martha, she's well worth picking up. She is permanent though, so she may spook you. She spooked me a few times on JP. But she's extremely strong. And then with her Interlude that I don't know if it's Interlude or rank up, but you'll get it in about 2 years. And she gets, it's an NP buff. She gets Ignore Invincible on her NP. So then she can just wreak havoc, and she gets very, very strong. So hey, she's worth picking up. Just remember that she's permanent. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to pull her or not. Next, after that, we have... this is probably not in NA. Class-based summoning. Oh, yes. So if you didn't pull the unit that you wanted on Chaldea Boys and Valentines, now's your second chance to pull them, I guess, if you want to risk it for the biscuit. It's all permanent story-locked units in a class-based, so you'll have sabers, archers, lancers, etc., etc. You can get story-locked units like Ku, Castor, and Columbus. But if you have a setup account, I wouldn't pull this. It's total bait. I remember I pulled this on JP, not the fifth one here, but the sixth one, which is later this year. And I got some decent stuff off it, but I was a new account, so I benefited from it. If you have a setup account, I would just skip. Next is this event, which brings back Jeanne Alter, Tristan, and Salieri. Salieri is a good AoE, I believe he's Arts Avenger. If you don't currently own an Avenger, I mean, hey, if you pull in this banner and get him, by all means. He's very decent. He is story locked, so if you don't plan on rolling story, then go on this banner. I'll go to Tristan. Tristan, as I've said before, he's very lackluster as an archer. I wouldn't recommend rolling specifically for him, even though he is story locked. And then Jeanne Alter, she's had a few rate ups. You probably know about her. Very, very, very strong single target Avenger, highest damage in the game even now in JP. Only thing is there's not really much you can do with her because she only does extra damage against berserkers and rulers, and you don't fight many rulers even in the story. And I have her on NA, and I've only used her a few times because I just really have no need for her. So I would recommend skipping unless you have a love for Jeanne Alter. And then the next one we already have right now, which is the Da Vinci banner, and I've already talked about it. Recommend pulling. It's very good. Let's go back over here. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Interlude campaign. Then we get this banner. Okay, so first of all, Arjuna and Rama, that's a skip. Arjuna is the most lackluster 5-star archer in the game, even though he does get some buffs later on. He's just not worth rolling. You'll get spooked by him eventually anyway. Maybe, I don't know. Just don't spend your quartz on this. It's total bait. And then part one of I'm just gonna call it India. Part one of the India gacha for Lost Belt 4 is gonna bring in Ganesha, and I forget how to say her name, so I'm just gonna call her Saber. Okay, Saber, and then William Tell. William Tell is a permanent 3-star archer. You'll get a lot of copies of him in the future. Don't pull this banner if you want him, because you will get him in the future. Guaranteed, pretty much. The 4-star Saber is... she's okay. I haven't really used her too much. She's quick AoE, which is... I believe she's the only Saber in the game that is AoE quick, even up to this date in JP. I'm not sure if she loops or not with Scotty, but she's just okay. She's nothing crazy. She's just another AoE Saber. And she's also permanent, so I wouldn't recommend rolling specifically for her if that's what you're going for, because you might get her in the future just by a random spook. And then Ganesha is also permanent. She's the first permanent Moon Cancer. I have her on JP. I got her off Story Gotcha, which goes to show you something. You may or may not get spooked by her in the future because she is permanent. So, I mean, hey, if you like her because waifu reasons, go ahead and pull. If you're just looking at that Moon Cancer card and going, wow, I need her, don't. There's another Moon Cancer that will come later on this year. Right here, yes. And she's just better in my opinion. You can use Ganesha for stalling. I've used her for stall teams along with Hans and Scheherazade, No, I used her with Space, Ishtar, and MASH. And she works really well because she can self-sustain herself, as well as buffing up her allies with NP gauge and attack. But really, she's a moon cancer, so you're not going to use her very often, if at all. And then even when the occasional Avenger comes around, she is AoE, so it's not like she can really deal a huge amount of damage. If you already have 4-star BB, that's all you need in terms of moon cancers. I don't think you need to pull her. She might spook you in the future. And then we got the big boy banner. This is the banner you want to roll. Not this one. Save your courts. Wait for this one. Karna, he's permanent. He's very strong, anti-divine, but he is permanent, so he may or may not spook you. Forget about him. That's not the point of this banner. These three are the big boys. So first we'll start with Asclepius. I personally have not used Asclepius. I have him NP5 on JP because I pulled a few copies off Story and I got a copy or two off GSSR. I still have him at level 1. I haven't leveled him yet. But from what I've seen, he's pretty much, and I don't want to say the P word, but I'm going to say it. He's pretty much a power-crept Iris Veil. He's got heals, he's got guts that he gives everyone but himself. He's got some strong buffs. If you want to look at his whole kit, go to the wiki. But just know, you're going to get a few copies of him anyway if you pull this banner. He's well worth pulling, though. He's well worth leveling, and he's a very strong support. I just prefer Hans, because I actually have Hans leveled, and I'm too lazy to level him. As Vaudeman, as a 4-star archer, he's story-locked. This boy is insane. I got him off a 4-star ticket off JP, and I do not regret the decision at all. He has his first skill, it's his first or second skill. Anyway, one of his skills gives him a buster buff, and then when he attacks with a buster card, it'll decrease the enemy's defense. I believe that's up to 3 times. So you just go ham with buster, and they'll get their defense down as you hit them. And then he has a quick buff, which will, when he hits the enemy with quick cards, it will increase his critical damage. So if you get some good stars and you use that, you can increase your crit damage and then go ham with the busters and just crit them to death. But the cake and the bread and butter of his kit is his NP, which gets even, like Hijikata, it gets more powerful as he loses health. But unlike Hijikata, he can actually live because his last skill gives him invincibility as well as a small NP gauge. And yeah, he's just extremely strong, and you will probably get a copy of him, maybe, if you're rolling this banner, and he is well worth the levels. And then Arjuna Alter is the big boy of this banner. You probably heard about him. I'm not going to go too deep into him because there are plenty of videos about him absolutely trashing on people. He's pretty much just a very, 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 very strong AoE berserker who on his NP will decrease buster resist and then just smack him into oblivion. He has an attack buff. He also has a buster buff and a crit buff. And he has a buff that'll bring all the stars to his buster cards. So that way he can just buster chain. He's also triple buster deck to where he can just, yeah, he's just the press red, everything dies kind of character. He does have a heal and a guts on his 3rd skill, which will somewhat keep him alive. Not as much as Ku or Musashi, but it is a small little defense to him. That way he doesn't immediately die from a crit, which he tends to like to do because he is a berserker. Next banner is a 1,700 download or 17 million downloads campaign, which brings back Nero Bride. Nero Bride is a strong single target arts saber. She won't have another rate up for a very long time, if at ever. I don't think she has another rate up at all. She gives attack buffs to an ally. She can heal and increase defense for an ally, and she gives an NP gauge and an NP gain for an ally. So she's a very rounded support. if you're looking to increase an ally's power, or she can use it on herself and just make her extra Chad. Her NP is just very strong arts, single target, Saber NP. There's not really much I can say about her. I haven't really used her too much, but she is very good. Next banner we got is Gudaguda Final, which brings along Mao Nobu, brings back Berserker Nobu from Summer, and then Mori. I rolled on the rerun of this banner so many times to try to get Mori, and I didn't get him. Hopefully you can get him, but I haven't really used Mori that much. He is limited, like Izo, so if you want to pick him up, now is the time, or you can wait for the rerun and pick him up. I recommend just at least trying to get one copy just to have him. He is a 3-star, so he's not too tough to pick up. I say that, and yet I've done like 4 multis on this banner and not gotten him. So I wish you luck on getting him. He is very strong, buster, single target, berserker. He is 3-star, so you want to try to get as many NP copies as you can. But yeah, that's about it for him. Berserker Nobu 4-star is fairly decent, single target buster. Has some utility, gets some stars. I believe he has a heal. I've used him a couple times, but not really all that. And I don't really see that many people using him as a support, but he's there. If you need a Berserker that's not Hercules, go ahead. And then the bread and butter on this banner is, of course, Mao Nobu. I don't think Mao Nobu is worth picking up. I'm going to be completely honest. There are much better Avengers out there. I don't think, and I'm going to say he, because I do prefer Second Ascension. I don't believe he is the worst Avenger, but he certainly isn't the best, especially this year. We have another Avenger coming out later that is much better, in my opinion. Although, he can get work done. He has Anti-Divine, I believe, on his NP. He's AoE, so, I mean, if you're fighting one enemy, which is likely going to... If you're fighting a ruler, it's likely to be one enemy, and it's just kind of... I believe Jeanne Alter is a better pick than him. And he can't even... Like, yeah, he's tough to farm with against Berserkers and all that. Unless you really like Nobu, I wouldn't recommend picking him up. He does get a buff next year on the rerun, but it's still not worth it, in my opinion. Next, we have Summer coming back. Oh, my goodness. This banner is cracked. If you didn't pull for it last year, or didn't get any of the units last year, here's your second chance. I got NP4 MHXA, but I didn't get any of the 5-stars. Dante's is back if you want to pull a second copy for Scotty, or if you want to pull a single copy for Scotty. If you don't have Scotty, don't pull him. He's really not worth it if you don't have Scotty. Yeah, he's an AoE arts Avenger with Ignore Invincibility. Ignore Invincibility is very nice to have, but he's just really not all that. He'll get you by if you're using him for like ruler fights and stuff, but there are better alternatives. If you want an Avenger, I recommend either pulling Mao Nobu or Jeanne Alter, or the third Avenger I'm going to mention later in this video. Jeanne Archer is a very good AoE archer that can actually loot pretty well if you use her with Tamamo and others. I'm not going to mention next year's caster, which I'm sure you all are saving up for, because she's not here yet. I will mention her. I'll mention her briefly. Castoria, yeah, it breaks her, makes her super, super good with looping. The only thing is, like, I wouldn't pull for her if you're planning on getting Castoria, because honestly, like, you can roll so much quartz and not get Castoria, and then now you're stuck with... I mean, not that she's bad. I'm just saying I wouldn't roll for a unit specifically because they're good with Castoria. I would roll for the unit because you want or need the unit. If you get Castoria next year, good on you. But, like, if you roll for a specific unit because you want to use them with Castoria and then you don't get Castoria, it's just kind of silly. And then you have BB, who is, in my opinion, a better Moon Cancer than Ganesha. She's Buster AoE, which is very nice. She won't deal as much damage as 4-star BB if you're going up against Avengers, but she does have a nice niche where you can freeze your command cards, so you can have nice setups with that, with Arjuna Alter or a certain archer I'll mention later in this video. But other than that, she's just okay. I mean, Moon Cancers are kind of niche class in this game. You won't be fighting Avengers very often. Then we have the GSSR. I'm going to be honest, I'm not exactly sure about this GSSR. If you're willing to spend money, do it. Honestly, no matter what the GSSR is, it's worth it. If you're not willing to spend money, if you're free to play, then skip, of course, yeah. Let me just double check real quick that this is the next one. We have a strengthening quest. I'm not sure if that brings upon a banner. And then we have Summer, Las Vegas. This is actually the point where I started my JP account, was Summer 4 when it first started. So I have an extreme bias towards Musashi here. I'm just going to say that right now before I start talking about her. I'm going to start with the other servants first. So we'll start with the boy banner. We got the ninja, who name escapes me right now. It starts with an F. But you probably already have him NP5. Sitonai and Merlin. Sitonai, not really worth picking up. He's permanent. Don't worry about him. Even if you really want him, just save your courts, honestly, if that's all you're wanting. He does get a very nice costume this summer. He gets a tuxedo. But don't worry about it. You'll get him eventually, I'm sure. Maybe. I don't know. Merlin is obviously the Chad on this banner. I rolled on this banner a lot for Merlin. Didn't get him. Hopefully you have better luck. If you need Merlin, go ahead. If you want NP2, don't do it. Trust me. Getting extra NP levels on Merlin is nice, but it's not worth it. It's better to spend your courts on the other two banners this summer. But if you need Merlin as a good support, NP1, go ahead. It's well worth it. I mean, I'm sure you already know about Merlin. He's kind of broken. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you don't know about Merlin, look him up. You'll find out some videos. Next, you got... I'll go start with part 1. So part 1, you got Summer Camilla, Summer Okasaba Hime, and Summer Musashi. I'm going to be honest, Carmilla and Okasaba Hime, I haven't really seen much about. I have one friend on JP that uses her Summer Okasaba Hime as a support. I've used her a couple times. I know she has a taunt that you can... I don't know if it places on her... Yeah, it places on herself, I think. No. When you attack an enemy, it puts a taunt on an enemy, and then it debuffs them. Something like that. If you want her full kit, just go look at the wiki. She's okay. AoE Buster. If you need a AoE Buster Archer, I mean, you can pull for her, or you just like her in general. Carmilla, I know absolutely nothing about, so don't ask me. She's an AoE writer. That's about all I know. In my opinion, they're the byproducts of this banner. If you get them, that's fine. But the real bread and butter of this banner is Musashi. Oh my goodness. I got her on JP. She's my first SSR. And my god, do I not regret the decision. I have her NP1. I've grailed her to 100. And I have her at Bond 13. She gets even better next year. But I'm just going to focus on what she has by herself. Her first skill gives her an evade 1 time 3 turns. And a crit buff. The crit buff is meaningless because she's a berserker, so she doesn't get any stars. She doesn't absorb anything, so you won't really be critting with her unless you're stupidly lucky and she somehow gets all the stars. That skill is mainly just for the evade. Second skill is doubles her hit count at the cost of some damage for her arts cards. So if you have a good art chain, you can use that skill, and it'll also improve her NP gain for 3 turns. So she will be looping pretty well, even by herself. And then her third skill is defense down on all enemies, attack up on herself, and ignore invincible. And she gets a guts for 3 turns at the cost of 5,000 HP, which being a berserker, 5,000 HP is kind of big. It's a very big demerit, but the pros are worth it, because you do get that ignore invincible, which is clutch in some cases, and you do a lot more damage. Her NP is an AoE arts NP that can NP seal saber enemies, which is extremely niche, and you don't use her for that. But it's decently strong. I used her for general farming content, and I use her for challenge quests because she does have the evade and the guts, so she can survive a bit. And if you have a decent support, oh, she's so good. She's well worth pulling. Of course, I'm biased, so take that with a grain of salt, but I think she is well worth pulling, especially even now. And then next year she gets even better, because she'll be able to loop much better, even at NP1. Part 2 banner, Summer Okita, Summer Melt, and Bunny Toria. Okita is kind of like a mini Jack, think of her that way. I have her on JP, I have her Bond 10, so I know a lot about her. She does have an evade, she has sure hit, she's AoE quick assassin. She's decent. Like I said before, she's a mini Jack, so if you don't have Jack, she generates stars stupidly well. The only downside is she has a lot of demerits with her skill set. Her quick buff decreases her defense. Her NP has a chance to stun her. Stuff like that. She's worth picking up if you don't have a decent assassin like I didn't. But if you're already set in the assassin department, if you have Jack or another strong assassin, don't worry about her. Melt is a really good AoE Lancer, and then she gets even better next year when a certain caster comes out. I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on her. A lot of people say roll this banner for her. It depends on what your Lancer composition is. If you have already good Lancers, don't worry about it. If you need a good Lancer, or if you just have Fionn and that's it, maybe worth rolling. It's up to you, really. And then Bunny Toria, in my opinion, I don't think is worth. She was my second SSR in my JP account, and she's got me through a lot of content. You can check out my Suzuka Toda challenge quest video on my channel, and my Sigurd Ice Palace fight for my JP account. In both cases, she absolutely clutched my run, but in most cases, you're really never going to use her. She has a good kit. She has attack up, she has crit up, she has an evade, she has a very fat battery. She even has the ability to change your, reshuffle your deck, just like how the Mage Mystic Code does. The only downside is her attack is horrendously low, and she'll be hitting like a wet noodle unless you actually buff her up. And even with all her buffs active, she still does not do all that much damage. And for an offensive ruler, that's kind of disappointing. I feel like Sherlock hits harder, honestly. If you're planning on rolling this banner just for Bunny, I recommend not doing it. If you really want Melt, go ahead and try, I guess. But I feel like that banner is completely skippable if you're set up. Next banner we have the... oh, you know what? Hold up. I might have skipped a banner. Yeah, I skipped Anniversary. Ha! So, remember when I was talking about the GSSR? Yeah, that's for Anniversary. So with Anniversary, we'll also get Da Vinci Lily. Da Vinci Lily is an AoE Arts writer. She's good. She's very good, especially when a certain caster comes out next year. But think of her as a regular Da Vinci caster, but as a writer. Instead of buffing herself up with like a battery and with NP buffs and stuff, she buffs everyone else around her with she has like NP overcharge for 1 turn for all allies. So that'll increase her overcharge by 200%. She also has like a 10% battery for everyone, but she also gets that nice NP gauge every turn for herself. She's very, very good at looping. She's almost kind of like if you took a Tamamo and a Da Vinci caster and put them together. I say she's worth rolling. You're going to get a lot of courts for the anniversary anyway. So if you want to roll her, go ahead. I don't have her. And I do feel like there's another writer that'll come out next year, an arts writer, who I feel like damage-wise, offense-wise is better. Odysseus, who's actually permanent. But if you want her, go ahead. She's pretty good. Next, we have the Interlude campaign, which features Tesla, Jack, and Parvati. If you somehow didn't get Kama, that's really unfortunate. I wouldn't recommend rolling Jack. I would recommend just saving your courts for Kama. If you're planning on rolling like 3 multis for Jack, just save those multis until her rerun and then roll for Kama, because Kama is just better. But she's there if you want her. And then Tesla's story locked. So if you don't plan on rolling story, he's very good. I explained him earlier in the video. I recommend picking him up if you don't have a strong AoE archer. Next we have... Is it Battle in New York? Oh my goodness. Oh no, we have the class-based summoning. Yeah, that exists. I already explained this for the 5th part. I did pull on this one. I got Mabe, and I got Scheherazade. But like I said before, if you already have a set-up account, it's just not worth it. I didn't at the time, so that's why I pulled it. Battle in New York, Part 2. We got Gilgamesh coming back. Gilgamesh is Tesla, but a little bit better. So if you don't like Tesla, or you just want something better, pick Gilgamesh, because his NP is extremely strong. He does extra damage against servants. His charisma is kind of meh, but that is what it is. He actually has star gain, star absorption. So unlike Tesla, he can actually crit fairly well. If you get some decent stars, he can absorb those. And he has Golden Rule, which increases his NP gain, much like Tesla's galvanism. Overall, they're both very similar. It's just Tesla has a bit more utility, while Gilgamesh is just more damage-based. You do have Gorgon. Gorgon's story locked. She's an avenger. If you didn't already have an avenger, I guess you can pull her. I ended up getting her off this banner. I've used her a couple of times when I was fighting ruler enemies, but other than that, I haven't really touched her. Yeah, she's just okay. She's more of a byproduct, if anything. I remember at this time as well, which isn't on here, but there was a Babylonia banner, which included Ishtar and Archer Ishtar and Clay, Elkidu. They probably won't bring that to NA, but I just want to mention that. If they somehow do throw it in somewhere, Archer Ishtar is a lot like these two, except she's more buster-oriented. So she has less of a niche against servants and more just damage versus everything. So if you like Ishtar, and she does make a comeback, go ahead. Then we have this Kiyomaf Exposition. We probably won't get this on NA because it was a real-life event. It brings back Murasaki and... oh god, what's his name? Oh no, Kintoki. What I think they're going to do here is they're going to do what they did with Ivan, and they're just going to stick them on like a Thanksgiving banner. So I don't take my word for it, but if you do want a second Murasaki, if you haven't already picked her up, which, I mean, should have rolled Da Vinci, but that's just me. Or you want Kintoki. They may come in like a Thanksgiving banner. The fact that we're not getting Lancer Raiko is kind of unfortunate because she's a very strong single target Lancer, one of the best in the game. And if for some reason these banners don't go on to Thanksgiving, Murasaki will be getting a rate up next year with Lost Belt 5.5. Or no, it's the download campaign right before Lost Belt 5.5, and then Lost Belt 5.5 has a banner for Kintoki. So you can pick these two up next year if you really want them. Oh, hey, here's the Babylonia banner I was talking about. Yeah, there you go. Then we have the Oniland rerun. I talked about it earlier. You can get Shuten Caster. Let me just double check that that's everything. Battle New York. Oh, yeah, okay. So, unfortunately, there's no new Halloween event, but, I mean, this one will do. Ibaraki, both Berserker and Lancer are just okay. I don't think they're anything to write home about. If you really want a strong 4-star Lancer, you can look towards Samuraiko. Samuraiko actually has a rate up next year with, I forget the event name, but she will have a rate up next year if you want to pull for her. I wouldn't recommend pulling for Ibuki. I haven't really used her, and I haven't really seen anything for her, which certainly doesn't do her justice. Shuten is, in my opinion, one of the most lackluster AoE assassins in the game. She exists. If you like her, go ahead. But if you just want her for an AoE assassin, I recommend just pulling for Semiramis earlier this year. Yeah, really. And then we have Sitonai coming back. I know I probably butchered that. But Sitonai, she's a good single target arts alter ego. Although, I'm going to be honest, she is story locked, so you can get her off story. I just would recommend you pull for Melt instead of her, because I feel like Melt has more utility with the debuff removal. I have Sitonai. I haven't really leveled her because I do have Melt. I just feel like she's not all that. That's a skippable banner. Then we have the pre-release campaign for Saber Wars 2, which comes out with MHX. MHX actually gets a buff during Saber Wars, which makes her extremely powerful. One of the best assassins damage-wise in the game, right alongside Kama. Although I don't think this is really a reason to pull for her. Just because she gets better doesn't mean she's a ultimate better unit. If you already got Kama, which you should be pulling that banner, don't roll this banner. It's not worth it. And then we have this banner, Saber Wars banner, that actually just got a rerun in JP, so I can talk about this banner. It's very fresh. We got Space Ishtar and Jeanne. Jeanne is a very good single target archer, quick. Her NP is extremely strong. She has, I think, attack down on her first skill for enemies, although I'm really not sure about her other skills. I was rolling this banner to get Jeanne. I didn't really care for Ishtar, and I got Ishtar, and then the second time around I actually got Jeanne. If you're rolling this banner just for Jeanne, I mean, go ahead if she's your waifu or something. If you're just looking for a damaging archer, I would just throw all your courts on a Svadaman here, rather than using it on Jeanne. And then also we will get a 4-star select ticket, which I use to get a Svadaman, and I recommend you do too, if you don't have a good archer. I think Jeanne is very skippable, because you can just take a Svadaman, and I feel like he's better. Space Ishtar is just honestly. Talking about her from her own kit and using her as an Avenger, she's okay. I don't think she's anything to write home about. She has attack up for herself and then allies with a charm resist on allies on her first skill. It's kind of like a charisma, but more focused towards allies than herself. Her second skill increases NP damage 1 time 3 turns, and you can change the NP type, which, I mean, sounds pretty crazy, but once you start using her, it's like, it's not all that huge of a deal. She's innately an arts AoE, but you can change it to Buster, and that's what I've been doing a lot, is just changing it to Buster and then doing Buster chains. I do feel like she's better than Mao Nobu, but she's still just kind of eh. If you need an Avenger, she's worth it. If not, don't roll her. And I say that not taking to mind Castoria that will come out next year. Because, like I said before, not everyone's going to get her. And if you roll for Space Ishtar simply because she loops well and then you don't get Castoria, you're going to have a bad time. So she will have a rerun the following year. And I recommend what you do is you wait till Castoria's banner. You roll for Castoria. If you do get her, you can just get Space Ishtar the next time around. If you manage to get Musashi, she's totally skippable. I use Musashi to loop in almost every circumstance. I hardly use Space Ishtar to loop. I feel like I don't think Musashi's a better looper, but she works just as well. So yeah, there's that. That's my opinion on it. Of course, if you like Ishtar, go for it. I pulled her at the time just going for Jeanne. I didn't even really care for her. But she got better over time, that's for sure. And then we'll have the part 2 gacha, which is Sitman and MHXA. You heard my opinion on MHXA earlier. I'm not going to reiterate. And then Sitman is story-locked single-target Arts Saber. He's good, but there are better single-target Arts Sabers that will come next year. I forget his name, but he's from Gudaguda 5, and he's very good Arts Saber. I don't know. This banner is very skippable. Next, you have Scasa Scotty. If you have Dantes, or you have Lancelot Berserker, or Parvati, or Valkyrie, you might want to pull her because she loops with them extremely well. She's kind of the meta right now in NA. So yeah, if you don't know about her, she pretty much buffs quick to the point where you can use an NP, and then the next turn, you'll just get it again, and then you can use it, and then you get it again, and you can just farm super easily with her. As a side note, like I said before, Castoria comes out next year, so it's really up to you whether you want to pull her. I know I pulled for her, and I didn't get her. Yeah, it's really up to you. If you have good quick servants, then what have you got to lose, really? In my opinion. Next, we have the Fate Proto banner. I'm just going to make sure this is everything. That wasn't anything. That was the Mystic Code that we got. We even got it in NA. And then, yeah, the Ska Sahaskadi Hunting Quest. And then we got, Fate Prototype. I don't think Fatal Prototype is coming to NA because it was a Blu-ray release. Even if it was, for some weird reason, they twisted it into where it does come around. Even though it pains me to say so, do not roll this banner. Arthur is my favorite servant in Fate Grand Order. I have him level 100, NP2. I've put everything into him. He's the best boy. But going from gameplay, he's just really not worth it. Please do not roll this banner. Yeah, that's all I got to say. He's an inferior Altria Saber. He's an inferior Mordred. He's an inferior Altera. He's just not. And until he gets an NP buff or some sort of buff that's not his charisma or his intellect or whatever his second skill is called, intuition. He's just not it. Please do not roll this banner. Ozzy's good, but he's permanent. So there's that. If you wanted Ozzy, you could have rolled him on Chaldea Boys. They might throw him in Thanksgiving. We'll see. Next, we have the Oh, not a rerun of Quet's summer or Quet's winter, unfortunately. No, we have this banner, this monstrosity that is, oh god. So we'll start with Asvadaman. I've said it before. If you didn't select him for your 4-star ticket, and you didn't roll him earlier, please. Like, he's so good. He's so good. This is a good place to pick up extra NP copies if you're looking for him. Nightingale, oh god. She's a support berserker who just does not work out very well. She has a heal. Her NP will decrease NP damage from enemies for 1 turn, so it'll make it so that it hits like nothing. The only thing is she's a berserker, so she dies in like 1 crit, and then there's all your support instantly gone. She's not worth it, and she's permanent. Please do not roll this banner for her. And then Saber Astolfo is Saber Astolfo. Yeah, I know a lot of you are going to be rolling this for the memes. I rolled it for the memes. I did not get him, unfortunately. I got Bradalamante instead. Which was kind of ironic, I'm going to be honest, because Brad was in this event. Besides the point, he's a strong single target quick. If you have Scotty, he might be worth it. He does have an NP gain over time. He also has attack buffs and other stuff. He's a nifty Saber, although he's certainly not the best single target Saber. So if you need a single target Saber, he might be worth. Otherwise, just skip. Like if you have Benyama from earlier this year, or you have Nero Bride or any of the single target Sabers from this year, I don't think he's really worth pulling for. Although you might get him if you're pulling extra copies of Asvadaman. Next, we have the Atlantis summon. Was there a thing before this? Oh yeah, okay, so there was the Interlude campaign. This had a rate up for, I believe it was it was Napoleon and Anastasia. I'm not 100% sure on that. Please do not quote me on that. Anyway, it's not worth rolling for. I just remember this banner being very lackluster. I was hoping for an Ivan rate up, and there was no Ivan rate up. So, yeah, do not roll this banner. I would say for the next banner, which is Atlantis, we have Chad Orion, Europa, Kiom, and Mando Ricardo. Mando Ricardo is permanent. Please do not roll this banner for him specifically because you will get plenty of copies in the future. Kiom is also permanent. She's kind of bad. I have her on JP. I think I have her NP2. I use her with double Castoria to hit pretty hard, but before Castoria, I never used her. I leveled her, and then she just sat there. She's just really not that great of an assassin. Single target art. Yeah, she's just not all that. Europa is permanent. We'll actually be getting a 5-star select ticket next year, and you can actually pick her from the ticket. So if you were rolling this banner just for her and her alone, you can just wait till next year and get her absolutely free without having to spend any courts. Although, let's be real, you're rolling this banner for Chad Orion, because he is the Chad. If you thought Arjuna Alter was bad, oh my god, this guy is Arjuna Alter, but no, I wouldn't say he's better, but he's a archer. So if he's fighting saber targets, he won't die instantly in 1 crit like Arjuna will. His kit pretty much makes it so that he can absorb all the stars to his buster cards, and then his NP gives him attack up. His skills give him attack up. His skills give him buster up on crits. To the point where if you NP, and then he gets stars from his NP, so he's completely self-sustainable here. You'll get these stars, they'll go to his buster cards, and then you can just buster meme them to infinity. There are plenty of videos online of him doing up to 4 million damage in 1 crit. No joke. If you want to check that out, there's plenty of resources, but he is well worth pulling. I know I pulled him, although I didn't get him, because at the time I was free to play, and I didn't want to spend all that. I didn't want to spend any money. Although I just got him last week. He will be returning next year, New Year's. So 2022 New Year's. He will be returning, and that's where I got my copy of him. So if you don't get him here, you still have a chance to get him later on. He is limited. So this is your only time to get him, and then the New Year's banner. He is well worth rolling, though. I honestly don't remember what this banner was. I'm going to be real. And then Atlantis Part 2 was an absolute joke. We thought it was going to be Odysseus. It was not. It was Achilles. If you have Scotty... I goofed that one up, didn't I? Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Apologize about that. If you have Scotty, he may be worth rolling. Otherwise, if you don't have a good AoE rider, he may be worth rolling. But he's permanent, so he could spook you. And he's just not worth it. Please don't roll this banner. Please save. Please. And then you got Astrea, who I talked about before. She's back. She's very good, but she's permanent. These are all permanent units. If you're free to play, please just don't roll this banner. And then, for the finale, you may not see a banner here. You may not see another banner here. But I insist, there is one last banner this year that I must talk about to complete the list. Yes, I am talking about the story gacha. I know. It is a banner. It exists. Please do not click off this video. The story gacha is in my opinion, the all reliable. All right. If you want a servant and he's about the end of the year and you have plenty of time to save and you have some courts and you feel like there are some servants in this gacha that can improve your account, go for it. You never know what you can get. There's plenty of really good servants. I got Tesla off story a couple of months ago on JP. I actually got Alter off story about a month ago on NA here. You got cool people like Tesla. You got Ultra Pendragon Lancer. Mabe's not that great. Quetzal, Kodal. You got, there's plenty of really good units. You really can't go wrong with this banner. People trash on this banner all the time. I don't think it's worth rolling over a limited banner if there's one currently out. Like, for example, I would roll Da Vinci over Story any day. But if there's a long period of time where you have nothing to pull and you want to give it a chance, pull Story. You can get a K-Scope. You can get, there's lots of cool things you can get off this banner. And if you've completed the story up to this point, there's so much you can get. You can get Old Man Lee off this banner. There you go. Would you look at that? The only unit that this year that's going to be added to story is Asclepius with Lost Belt 4. So if you don't manage to get him NP5 while rolling for Arjuna Alter, you can always get a couple copies off story like I did on JP. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I'm tired now. My voice is dead. If you've watched up to this point, thank you. It really means a lot to me. I know this probably wasn't the most knowledgeable video in terms of specific characters. If you want to find out what specific characters have, or their skills or NPs, you can always look it up on the wiki. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what this year would be like with units that aren't just the new units, you know? Because I know a lot of people out there are just starting the game, and, every banner counts. Every banner counts. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good one.